Nachos amigos, and welcome to Record Breakers, a music podcast where a group of friends gather together to share music with each other, an album at a time, give their personal honest thoughts, and just have fun and banter along the way. I'm Petey Rave. Here with me is my team, my squad, my crew, my gang. We've got David.
Hi, I'm David. Welcome to Record Breakers. And remember, enjoy yourselves, you scum.
We've got Brett.
So, in the frantic prop search for saying hello to everybody, I came up a little dry, but I did find this T25 Torx bit. Like, if you really need to get in there and turn a T25 Torx bit, but it's made in America, just like this album is.
So you can only use it once.
Tree. Yeah.
And of course, last but not least, we've got Drew.
Hey, folks. I'm not gonna be like David. You live your life how you want to.
And as far as me, I'm going to show more props when we actually do D&D, but I want to show off that it took me going to New York and hitting a game store up there to actually decide to buy myself an actual DM screen.
That's right, Petey. I don't want to see your die rolls. Hide them from me through the internet.
Yes.
Also, those charts will come in handy.
Yes, I'm gonna have. I actually figured out. I can actually set it down in front of me, and it won't really block the monitors too badly.
That's pretty awesome.
So I'm gonna have that going on through the tomes, which we do every Tuesday or roughly. On the same Twitch channel, Relay TV. But yes, we're here to talk about music, not D&D. At least most of the time.
That's why I was quiet.
Yes. We're here to talk about an album, and the provider of said album is David. David, what have you got for us this week?
This album, PD, Record Breakers listeners, I try not to pick albums where I end up just going on and on and on and just bloviating about an album and a band. But these guys are my favorite. They're my favorite. And this is the brand new album from English progressive rock band Frost called Day and Age. I love these guys. I love them a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a gatefold. Get both sides of it.
Yes. Let's talk about expectations. Brett, what were your expectations coming into this album?
I literally opened up the Slack page, didn't even load up the image, clicked to Spotify and hit play. I forgot I didn't know the name of the band halfway through listening to it for the first time. And like I was like, cause you've got like, okay, David's album. Okay. I assume it's going to be something weird. It's whether it's going to be weird listenable or weird noise. So, like, which one's it going to be? I found out real fast.
Yeah. Yep. Drew, what expectations did you have coming into this album?
Well, when I clicked on the Spotify link, I saw the weird cover, and knew it was coming from David, and said, hey, this is probably going to be of the prog variety. Let's see what this is.
These guys are
like, I had no idea. Other than it was probably going to be very good musicianship at the very, very minimum. So.
Did you have to Google Atomic Kitten? Because I did.
Or Shane Ward.
Level 42.
Yeah. When I did a little bit of research on the Wikipedia, I had no idea who any of these bands were. I might poke around later. Spoilers.
Yes.
You're American. It's fine. Yeah. I know enough to know that I don't know shit.
Yes.
They do a lot of stuff over there.
Yes. Yeah, I wasn't sure what exactly to expect.
There are no fans of the cheeky girls on this podcast.
I didn't know. I
maybe
don't
one.
have a reference.
Maybe one.
I like everybody else was positive on the Spice Girls when they were a thing. but that's about it. Yeah.
I mean, I see a Spice Girl almost every Sunday, so
exactly. But moving beyond Spice Girls,
Sleepy Spice.
Yes. David, how would you describe this album musically?
Well, I would describe Frost as the brainchild of my musical hero, Jem Godfrey, who, before starting Frost, won some awards and had a career writing the occasional pop song and radio jingles for the BBC. And like any self-respecting human that spends their time around pop music for an extended amount of time, eventually you kind of want to branch out and do something else. Ergo, progressive rock. He started the band Frost in 2004. He reached out to guitarist John Mitchell, who we've talked about on this podcast before, and they started a thing. 4 albums later, here we are. One thing about Frost is that they kind of proudly are fully aware of all of the progressive rock tropes that are out there. And as time has gone on, they find ways to not do them. There are no solos on this album. None. Not a one. Not a one. Not an arpeggio, not a tremolo, nothing. But it's still very much a rock album that does not stick to your 3 chords and the truth mantra. These guys have all said they're very influenced by the Police and Genesis, and you'll hear a lot of that. Well,
you
also,
don't say.
Yeah. Weird. They were just on the BBC in Wales for an interview just last night, and they said, "Oh yeah, the Police, definitely, yeah." Like honestly, yes. Like, you don't even have to say it. The Police, yes, we know.
Yeah.
And there's also some later Pink Floyd and some later Genesis, and Jem also brings a bit of a heavier edge from his old band Freefall. I think Jem has a little bit of metal in him that you'll hear on other albums. And Frost has always been a band that drags progressive rock out of the 1970s and does weird things like having a dubstep song and electronica over guitar solos and going very crazy with Pro Tools and saying, yeah, all of that Mellotron stuff, we can leave that in the 1970s. Let's do stuff that I picked up working at the BBC and making award-winning pop songs for pop artists. Let's take all of those things and put them into Prog so it doesn't sound so shamelessly 1970s. And they're my favorite. And I love them, and Jem is my hero. I am spiritually a prog rock keyboardist, and Jem is my hero, and I love him.
Star makeup on one eye, big teased pink hair, hologram, great backing.
Jem has ranted about that. Like, no, strong no.
Yeah, I like that idea that you talk about, the not sticking to the past. For a genre that has always been, that started as innovating forward, then that got stuck in the past. It almost feels like all the hardcore wrestling promotions that desperately are clinging to the emulating ECW when ECW was about doing new things. Like they're stuck to this old 90s when that thing they're emulating was about trying new things. So I like that. Move forward. Brett, how would you describe this album musically?
Well, I will say it is very proggy, but a lot of times when it's very proggy, that means that it's not very listenable. This is not that. This is fairly recent. This is a reasonably listenable album. There have been some albums that, let's say, in the past couple of picks that Mr. Majors over here has picked. that may be a little less musical than this one. No, this one is not like that. It's not 100% anime prog. Like, you're not going to see like the opening credits, or certainly not the end credits of anime with this kind of music, but there is a bunch of keyboards. So, like, in your face, the keys are there. So you're going to have some throwback chorusy Genesis like stuff. You're going to have some acoustic piano in a room with, like strings going on. You're going to have that. It's not
Jem Godfrey is an admitted big Tony Banks stan, so of course I love him.
And while Prog was something that wanted to push towards the future, and this band wanted to, sort of stay away from certain old 70s things, that there are some synth sounds that always sound like a character select screen in a Capcom arcade, but there's not a lot of like super huge musical gymnastics. I noticed that, and I wrote that down. Everything fits together. There's always drums playing with something. That bass guitar is always doing something. There are crazy drum fills. Yeah, the drum fills are always there, but they don't make room for the drums. The drum makes room for the drums.
The drums. This is one thing where the band did kind of go full prog, because their longtime permanent drummer, Craig Blunders, he got a new gig with that Steven Wilson guy that I keep talking about. So Frost decided to go full King Crimson and get not one, not two, but 3 drummers on this album, including Pat Mastelletto of the aforementioned King Crimson.
But not at the same time. That's an important thing.
Maybe? Because King Crimson does do that.
I mean, they have a. If you look at Discogs, they only have one drummer listed in particular tracks. But yeah. They had to have like people come in and do drums depending on what session, which session they were doing, and who was available. But it's cool. But yeah, Brett, anything else?
That's pretty. I also have written here 2 words: the bass, which I was probably going to talk about the bass, but that's since ended. The bass guitar does have a tone. There's a definite like there's a thing that goes on between the bass and the drums a lot, and on certain songs when we get into stuff, I'll sort of get into the way they sound. But yeah, there's some tones here that are calls back, but is definitely something that is new.
Mm-hmm. Drew, how would you describe this album musically?
Well, getting into a prog and supergroup, while it wasn't like super up its own behind as far as music goes, it wasn't like a bunch of like, hey, let me show you all this like crazy virtuoso stuff I can do. It was still like musically intense. It was something that the show they must put on with this music is probably super well done, because the amount of thought that it sounded like went into this is amazing. And it's not the type of thought like, like I said, it's not the type of thought that's like, we're going to think of the craziest solos, or we're going to do this, that, or the other thing. It wasn't that. It was well composed. There was a lot of layering. There was crazy musicianship, but it wasn't like super overdone. Also, the layering in the production itself. There was a lot of instrumentation, a lot of guitar work, and it all fit together really well. The rhythm section kept everything tight, which is amazing to me. With 3 drummers who had never been with the band before, they just sort of came in and did it. So yeah, it's
drummer from Foghat.
It's something where
King Crimson.
You can tell these guys know what they're doing, and it, like you guys said, a lot of it's approachable. Some of it way more than others. Like, it's the first prog album I think I've heard where I was like, oh, that could be a single, and I don't think that's ever happened to me before.
That'd be a very long single,
Frost
but
right
yes.
there. That's Frost right there, Drew.
Yeah. Yes, because it musically it is approachable in its way, but it's still like anthemic and bombastic, and does really cool things, and like the use of keyboards is really fun and fantastic. And intricate. I like the fact that one of the drummers that they had, his name is Kaz Rodriguez. I like that. And apparently he has
Kaz Rodriguez. That's yeah.
It sounds like a baseball player, honestly.
He plays with Shaka Khan.
Yeah, he plays with Shaka Khan
truck.
and somebody else I saw on his list, but yeah, Shaka Khan. But yeah, the drums were fantastic. The keyboards and synthesizer stuff was just really cool, especially when it came in, and I like that. I like that in the Discogs they have Chapman Stick as the accredited chapstick, which is that's just cool. Like that just having these like fun out there instruments that, well, this works for this exact sound, so let's just do it. And I think it's fun and creative. I like the they don't do a lot of what's traditional in like British prog and rock, or in prog and rock in general. But they did include one thing, which is spooky British children, which is a nice tradition, either speaking or singing. There's
How
some
can
things
you have any pudding if you haven't eaten your meat? It's a long tradition of creepy children.
And there's a lot of Pink Floyd on this too. There's a lot of Pink Floyd
in the creepy children, exactly. But yeah, let's talk about some of the key tracks. Let's zero in on those. David, what will be some of the key tracks to zero in on?
I'm not going to go over every track, but I think that the song that I hope everyone listens to is undoubtedly the weirdest one and the most David track of them all. And that is The Boy Who Stood Still. This is maybe every Frost album has one of those songs that kind of becomes a fan favorite. On the first album, it was Black Light Machine, or the title track. On the second album, it was Dear Dead Days. On the next album, it was Tower Block, Dubstep Prog. And I think that for this album, it will probably be The Boy Who Stood Still. Yes, spoken word. Yeah, we're going there. And you better just sit down, shut up, and strap in. We're doing some spoken word over this. And it is done by none other than Captain Gabriel Lorca, a.k.a. Lucius Malfoy, Jason Isaacs. And it tells a story about a boy who grows the ability to become invisible. But it's just cool. I just think it's cool. And there's no solos. It's a 7-minute song, but there are no guitar solos. It's just all kind of a well-composed, kind of a strange, almost metal prog song that just goes very strange places, but it all comes together. It has this big chorus that kind of ties the whole album together. It kind of lets you know what the album cover is supposed to be if you're paying attention, and it just really works. I think the last 2 songs on the album, Kill the Orchestra and Repeat to Fade, are a great 1-2 combo, and the fact that they're both kind of on the longer end, it really finishes the album strong. If you're more single inclined, of the songs that were potentially singles, my favorite is Terrestrial. I love John Mitchell's voice on this song. I think the chorus just absolutely kills it. Just a great big rock chorus. And lastly, Island Life, just because I liked the video.
Yeah. Brett, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Well, Day and Age. I think when you go nearly 12 minutes on your opening song, you get noticed. But at the 6 minute mark, it goes a lot of different places. It does none of these are straight up songs. If you're listening and not paying attention, sometimes you'll miss where stuff ends and other things begin. But about the 6 minute mark, it's like the bass and the drums made me feel like I was in like a late PS2 era RPG, like Japanese RPG, turn based, in like a menu, and like where the menu cuts like the highs out and you just hear the bass and the drums going. Like it was pretty great. That wasn't at all a good representation of what the bass was doing, but that tone, it was very like, terrestrial. I'm a big fan of synths, but these were like some 80s ass sounds that were being used. I loved it. It was great. It definitely gave me as somebody who has Googled Sting today, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to some like there's a turn of the 90s era sound of synthesizers that I was going for. Waiting for the Live, we get strings and acoustic piano and a title that makes you think it might be a Ben Folds song, but no. And The Boy Who Stood Still, like the disco feel. There's a disco feel going on. Did not expect that. Also, the Capcom Arcade Fighter Select menu feel, which is also kind of it wasn't quite it probably has to do a lot with the punchiness. Like a disco beat has a lot to do with things, but near the end, it did have some Herbie Hancock's Rocket kind of feel towards the end. I wish I knew more about this kind of music.
I am loving your analogies, Brett.
Oh no, it literally had like a thing that was like it sounded like it was pulled from a thing in Herbie Hancock's Rocket. But I don't know enough about this stuff to actually explain it well. But it was at the very end of the track. But yeah, those are the things that stood out to me in these tracks, and there's a lot of stuff that you can point out. A lot of weird, creepy British kids. Though Petey now saying that, like, I'm trying to think. We haven't had a lot of like a children's chorus used as backing vocals to rock and roll music in a major form like that needs to come back. The Record Breakers, the album, will have a British children's choir do some singing.
Yes. Drew,
it is going to be a concept album, by the way.
Yes.
Well, B-roll of a foggy cemetery or playground with a swinging with nobody on it.
Well, they actually recorded this near a lighthouse.
I will go ahead and write the screenplay for Record Breakers, the album. I'll take care of that.
It's the musical.
Yes.
Sorry, that is the musical.
Drew, what will be some of the key tracks for you?
Well, Day and Age, I think it hits all the boxes of like, hey, Drew's gonna say something about this. It has to go well. It's a title track that's an opener, and it's 12 minutes. If this song wasn't as good as it was, they opened with courage. It's amazing. It's one of the best songs on the album. And the fact that, again, the drummers were not the drummer before this album, like, couldn't be less apparent than the song. Like, the rhythm section, it's fantastic. Skyward is the song that I was thinking of when I was thinking, oh, this could be like a radio single. Like, that's weird. Like, it is approachable on an album full of approachable songs. And Repeat the Fade, something about the crunch and like that industrial sort of feel in bits of Repeat the Fade. Just, it's the tone that the guitar gets in points is why I wish I liked Tool, because that tone is so cool. And now I have something that does it that's not Tool, which is nice.
Yeah. In order to pick out the songs, Day and Age is just an epic beginning. Just to start off with something that like bombastic is just impressive. The Boy Who Stood Still, it is one of the highlight tracks with the crowd singing. But yeah, the spoken word narration is pretty fantastic. And yeah, This Island Life is just a nice, intense song and a little bit angry but reserved. I enjoy it. I enjoyed it fantastically. Let's bring it back around the horn and talk about some conclusive thoughts. Brett, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
As I blow the horn as we go around, it was as I would expect one of these. If you told me like it's a pretty good prog album from across the pond, that's modern. Like it's that. Is that something that I'm into? No, not really. But I enjoyed my time with it. It wasn't a bad time. If you're even slightly into this or this kind of music, go for it. If you want to hear some weird stuff, I'd say go for it. It's not extra weird. It's approachable weird. It's a good time. I wouldn't I wasn't like completely hooked, but that's more me than them because it was a pretty tight album. There was nothing that was like, this is god awful. And I've said here recently, man, that's god awful. Yeah. So I'm not afraid to say it when it is.
Yeah.
This is not.
Yeah. Drew, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
Like I alluded to in the beginning, I think I'm gonna go back and like find other music from the guys in this band.
They're my
it's something where it's prog, yet it's something I can put on in the background at like work. Like it's prog that doesn't make you like think too hard. But when you do, it's like Shrek. It has layers. It's an onion.
Like a cake.
Yeah. Ooh, now I want to talk.
And everybody knows it's a
Italian
piece of cake
cream
to bake a
cake's
pretty cake.
What?
But it's something where I can suggest it to both like the music nerds I know and also like the people that just like good music and like maybe aren't super nerdy about it. It's good. And if all these musicians are that good, except on their own or in this group, I would like you to hear what they do with other people.
Well, I've brought a few already.
Yeah, I was seeing that.
Oh, have we?
Yeah, Lonely Robot.
Oh, we did do wrong about that. Yeah. Okay. Yes, it's good.
Like I said, former Frost drummer Craig Blundell is now with Steven Wilson.
Yeah.
Oh, Steven Wilson.
Yo, it'd be good though. Yes.
Yo, it'd be good though. We can put that out there on Metacritic.
Exactly. It is a pretty fantastic, bombastic, epic record altogether. It is like David has said, prog with no reservations on breaking the unwritten rules.
You said bombastic twice, and now I have Shaggy pulled up on my computer because of you. God damn it!
Look, that's a you problem.
Yes,
it is a me problem.
Yes,
I'm dealing with it over here.
I just want to show the nation my appreciation for this.
It wasn't me.
Exactly. because this is a really cool like record to just like really cool album to put on and listen and like and sink your teeth into because it just does a lot of really cool like pieces of things here and there throughout the whole album, and you know it does it with that little bit of a British sarcastic wit too. And I enjoy it entirely myself. I think overall it is a really cool record that I think is more than worth checking out. Yeah. David, last but not least, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
As a Frost fan, I will say that this album is not quite as sprinkled with metal as Milliontown. It is not as tight and compact as Experiments in Mass Appeal. It is not as all the way modern as Falling Satellites, but it's got some ethereal vibes. It almost invokes a little bit of Pink Floyd's Pulse at points, along with the obvious Police influences. It has some influences more from John Mitchell, since he was more involved in the songwriting, so it's not as bonkers as previous Frost albums with the Widdly Widdlies and the Woodly Woos. And it's not fake 80s nostalgia like Vaporwave. It's very genuine 80s influence. And it manages not to go like wimpy 80s, and it keeps a punchy guitar, which I always appreciate. And yeah, this is my favorite band in the world, and so far they're 4 for 4. I dug it.
Yeah, those are our thoughts on
Petey, what were your
Frost
thoughts?
Day. Those are, I just said them. Yeah, my conclusive thoughts. This is a fantastic record, and everybody should check it out. It's bombastic and anthemic. Yeah, those are our thoughts on Frost's Day and Age. And now we get to the main event of the evening, the moment we've all been waiting for, where we all sum things up in poetic form, our haiku reviews with the 575 Poetry Jones up in here.
Brother.
Let's get down to the nitty gritty. Haikumero numero uno. Brett, what is your haiku?
It's a supergroup. Proggy but listenable. Safe for layfolk. Mm-hmm. Safe for the layfolk. Yes. Let me get my count right.
Exactly. Drew, what is your haiku?
Layering guitar. Amazing composition. Snowy ampersand.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. My haiku, prog anthems with bite, with great compositions. British prog is great.
It is. It really is.
And David, last but not least, what is your haiku?
80s wavy prog. A guitar crunch now and then. I enjoyed myself.
I'm glad.
You scum.
Exactly. Those are our thoughts on Frost's Day and Age. Go ahead and check it out on our Spotify playlist. Play Record Breaker into the home game. Do your due diligence and your due diligence. Follow along at home. On that Spotify playlist, this presumably will be next week's record, and it's provided by Brett. Brett, what have you got for us next week?
It's not going to be Midnight Lover. It's not going to be Original Doberman. It's not going to be Bombastic, but I almost did it because you said it another time. No, I'm not bringing Shaggy. We're bringing an old friend. So, Record Breakers, the off time. The other day, I found myself sitting around watching the Leslie Nielsen hit The Naked Gun. And there was a scene in it where he steps off a plane. And the crowd's around, and he gets told, no, this crowd's not here for you. They turn around and they say, the crowd's here for this artist. And we're going to go to the 1988 album, Even Worse, by Weird Al Yankovic. It's time. We need to go back.
Exactly.
He's got a catalog as big as Rush. We need to hit some up.
Yes.
Good ass choice. That's a good ass album.
So look forward to that next week. But that'll be next week, and this is this week. And you can, of course, find us all over the internet. David is at Call Me DJM. Brett is at HibbityBibbird, HIBBITYBIBBARD. Drew is at XDrewSFX. I'm at PD Rave. The show's at 4 Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers. RecordBreakersPodcast.com. RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com. Rebelly.net for this and other shows. Rebelly TV on Twitch and on YouTube. Follow us along on Twitch. We do fairly full schedule from Tuesdays to Fridays. We do D&D on Tuesdays. We do Record Breakers on Wednesdays. We do Space Trucking on Thursdays. I do PD Plays Fridays. Getting through Mass Effect still so far. Taking it a week at a time, doing that Legendary Edition thing. Just one of my favorite series, so it's a really fun time. But yeah, go ahead and check that out. Follow, like, share, subscribe, do all the things and all the places, all the calls to action. There's a bell to punch and other things, and check boxes and whatnot. Reviews and stuff. Until next time, hasta los huevos.
Toodaloo.
We're all fucked anyway.
Annyeong. Fighting.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.